First off, I wanted to have this live to talk about a few things, specifically how tomorrow is an important day. Tomorrow and then Thursday as well. As many people may or may not know, Canopy Growth Corporation is the company to follow. They are and always have been the leader in the sector. All the way back in 2014 when they first came on the stage, I remember I wanted to buy into them when they first came in, and I thought to myself, I hope it's around like $1 something or $1.50. No, it opened up at $5. That to me back then, I thought, you know what, this is so overvalued. I'm not going to go into it at $5, and I held off. I later went into Bedro Canada, or Bedro Can, who later got bought out by Canopy, so I got my shares. Tweed, it used to be called. But I remember when that first came out, as Canopy was the first publicly traded cannabis stock in Canada, I remember the articles coming out and everyone was wondering, cannabis is going to be, or they were saying marijuana back then still, but cannabis is going to be traded on the stock exchange? That's legal? I just remember thinking to myself, like, this is going to be a huge company. But back then, legalization, and if legalization was going to go through, was still very, very uncertain. I was buying into it knowing I could lose all my money. There was no, I don't even think there's talk of legalization back then, just some medical stuff coming out. But back in April, they went live. We had numerous companies started going on to the stock exchange at that time as well. Not many, but a few started following them. And then fast forward to November 2016. November 2016 is an important date. That's when Canopy started going crazy. I mean, I remember watching my stocks. I had it at something like $1.60, I think it averaged into. And then all of a sudden it went to $3, and then to $4, $5, $6, $7. I could almost refresh it, and it went up by $1 each time back in November. And I think that moment was the first time, in Canada at least, where it got North America's attention. Everyone was thinking to themselves, what is this stock and what is going on? We were having rocket high volumes. The share price just kept going up and up and up. I think it got to $17.50, almost $18, and then it crashed. It hit a circuit breaker. Funny enough, it hit a circuit breaker going up too quickly, not going down too quickly, but then everyone began to panic. They all started selling off. I actually sold off at $14.35. My first stock ever went from just under $2 to $14.35, and that was the basis of my portfolio. But I'll never forget that, because I think that was a very, very pivotal moment in Canadian cannabis, because it was the first time people are asking, what is going on? What is going on, and how can I be a part of it? You then started having things like our ETFs come into play. Back in, I think it was April, HMMJ was launched, and that was another huge moment for our sector, because that was the first cannabis ETF in all of Canada, in all of the world. It was the first of its kind. So we started slowly getting legitimacy for the cannabis sector. It started to build. That went from $10 million in assets on April 4th or April 5th is when it launched. By April 20th, it's a convenient day, I guess, but by April 20th, it was $114 million. It had gone over, an ETF had gone up by over 10 times in less than 3 weeks. And that got a lot of people's attention. That was the first ETF. Another reason why I think these ETFs that are launching this week, Seed and the HMJR, it's the junior one. I'm going to be talking about that one as well. I think that's why when these come out, they can be a pretty big deal for the market. And obviously always looking at Canopy. So you go through the summer, and the summer was the first time I had a gut-wrenching feeling of having all of my investments just crash. It was a sell the news on April 20th, just shortly after. Actually, it was a few days before April 20th, it started selling off. And I'll never forget that feeling of being up like $10,000. And for me, that was huge back then. I had, just getting out of college, didn't have much money. That was a lot of money to me. It still is. $10,000 is still a very good amount of money for people. But I remember that crashing, just telling myself, I still believe in this. It's still going to happen. And I ended up holding everything. And I held it all, and now I'm up hundreds and hundreds of percent on all those stocks that I held, except for Emblem. One day, maybe, for Emblem. But the reason I'm saying this is that if you fast forward into what just happened, October 30th, Constellation Brands bought 9.9% of Canopy Growth Corporation. I believe it was, I have it written down here, it was 180 million, 170 million. It was an incredible amount. And that very well may have started what we knew, or what we just went through, the biggest green rush this sector has ever seen. And again, Canopy led the way. We all know what's happened over the last few weeks. We've had some corrections, we've had some pullbacks in this, but what we're in right now is a feeling out period. We're trying to figure out, have we found the floors, or what's going on. I think a lot of money right now is on the sidelines still because of what's going to happen tomorrow. One of the main reasons why I'm having this video. Tomorrow is Canopy Growth Corporation's third quarter sales. And as such, and as it's been one of the beacon of the success, of the health of this sector, it's very important tomorrow. People really want to see how high was the revenue. I think it's going to be a good number. Reading a lot of different things and speaking to different people, I think it's going to be a good number. But especially because it's going to be year over year. So year over year, I think it's going to be a very good number. But a lot of money, a lot of firms are waiting for that moment. Again, because of how important weed is, weed being the ticker for Canopy, is to the sector. But on top of that, we also have a new fund coming out. I had spoken earlier about the HMMJ. That one was massive. I think the last time I checked, it was $714 million in assets. It started at $10 million less than a year ago. I mean, how many times can you go into a mutual fund or an ETF and get 200% plus on your money in a year? You can't. Only with cannabis. But there's a new one launching. I posted on the Follow the Money main page for you to see. There's a new one coming. It's the HMJR. So this one's very unique because it gives you access to small cap players. I believe it's under $200 million market cap or under $500 million. It's smaller than the rest of the players. But the reason why I think that one is something to look out for is because all of the names that are inside of there, just like when the Horizons first went off, when people are buying this ETF, that fund manager, if you keep buying and buying and buying, needs to buy more of the underlying assets. Well, when that happens, you get the surge that you saw back in April when it came out and everyone was buying these stocks like crazy. Not to mention, it's great, fantastic exposure for all the companies that are in there. Remember, some people that are in here, they're in our cannabis chat. We know a good amount about cannabis. We know about the companies that are going on because we're constantly talking about it. But the vast majority of investors out there, they don't know these companies. They might never have heard of Harvest One or Indiva or Matica, which I'm going to talk about in a second. They might not have ever heard of these companies, but now through these different ETFs, they're able to not only have exposure if they want some skin in the game, but they don't know how to. They can be buying these ETFs. It comes out on the 15th of February, just a couple of days from now. But also for people who are looking for those investments, they now have a new list of companies to look for. And that's why it's very, very important to go back to the list that I provided, look at those companies, and look into them. Are these companies something that you believe in? Are they something that you want to get into and understand they're about to have or just have had a lot of exposure? So something to really, really look into. But I want to also quickly touch up on what I just said, because I know there's some people in here. I think the first comment was, let's prove Radar wrong, or let's show up Radar. I think that's somebody on Stockhouse. I don't go on it too often. I try to here and there, but there's so much garbage on that site. Another good reason why to be a part of Follow the Money. We saw it earlier today, somebody was talking smack and not being constructive, just being completely negative towards different stocks and Matica specifically, but he just kept going on and on. He's no longer with us. He's been removed. I wish Stockhouse could do that as well. That's not what I said. Let's shut up Radar. Well, I don't know who that is, but I just repeated it on the live Facebook anyway, so I guess I said it as well. But Matica, going on that before I go off on too much of a tangent, I should say. Tomorrow we are going out to Montreal. Myself, Carl, Patrick, who is a part of our group as well, who'll be helping us film, Felix, and Magus will all be going out, meeting up with Boris for dinner, and getting to talk to them, getting to know them a little bit better. But the biggest thing is that we are going to have a sit down at Matica and have their master grower go through the different rooms, the different construction, what's going on. And we're not only going to be able to have him talk about these rooms, what do they buy, what type of things are going to be growing there. I'm sure they've got a whole thing ready for us, but we're also going to be able to film it. We're going to be able to film it, and we're going to be posting it once we have it rendered and edited and all of that onto our YouTube channel and onto this Facebook channel. One of the good things about being a part of Follow the Money. I hope this is the first of many, or not the first because we've done them before, but for myself, the first of many. And I can't wait to be able to show that information. I can't wait to be able to talk to their management, get a better feel for the company, but most importantly, be able to see the finished facility, film it, and show it to all of our 2,155 members, unless some have been added or axed in the last little while. But no, very excited. I've actually never been to Montreal, never made my way out there, so it'll be nice to be there, but very excited. I know a lot of people in here are investors of Matica as well. I can't wait to have this all set up, filmed, edited, and onto our site as fast as possible. So really looking forward to that. Victor, I'm not too sure if you are able to, but I promise I will personally message you. I'll write it down or go back and let you know as soon as we're about to post it. So maybe you'll have one of the first views on it. But I think this is a Follow the Money administrator trip this time around. So excited about that. I know a lot of other people are excited about that as well. Stay tuned. I cannot wait. And I've already been talking to Carl about possible companies to be approaching next. I want to be able to get a few of these going. I can't promise anything. Nothing's been planned as of yet. But in the very near future, I hope to get more of these going with Carl and the group. It just gives that extra exposure. Follow the Money. One of the things I've enjoyed about it the most is that it is information. That's what this group is all about. Having a community that is positive, constructive at times, but having the information to be able to make the decisions that are best for you and your portfolio. And that's all we're going to look to do is present the information. We're not going to go to these companies and start pumping them or start having any of these aspects of, oh my goodness, you need to buy this right now. That's not our vision. I'm sure I've heard Carl say that many a times, that it's not the vision. But what is the vision is being able to give exposure to these companies so that they can tell you a little bit about themselves. We can get videos up here. We can get different aspects of these companies that you may not see otherwise. So very excited, very excited. I cannot wait. The interview with Boris is tomorrow. Thursday morning. Tomorrow we're heading down there, but Boris will be there, and something I really want to be able to talk to is the master grower. Forgive me, I can't recall his name off the top of my head. We're going to be able to see him as well, and I think that's going to be important because you can imagine, as much as Boris has a vision and Matica has a vision, the grower absolutely has a vision. This is built to what he wanted, what he is going to be doing. So really, really excited about that. I can't wait to, Steve is the master grower, if that's true. Thank you, Joey. Forgive me, I track a lot of stocks and it wasn't coming to my head right away. But no, very excited about that. Stay tuned for that. Now, going back to what I really wanted to have this video about as well is to be looking out for Cannabis Growth Corporation tomorrow. When I first started the chat, we had half the people in. I was just explaining why they're such a beacon and why they're so important to pay attention to, because people still use them as the indicator of how healthy the sector is. Is it doing well? It's really nice to see us actually break away from that a little bit in recent weeks and months, but still very much tied to the success of Canopy Growth Corporation, Aurora Cannabis. Those two are huge, and our ETFs. The MJ fund, which used to be called MJX fund, and the HMMJ fund. Very, very tied to all these things. Tomorrow is a big, big day for those quarterly earnings. Pay attention to those early in the morning. If our markets look at them favorably, I think we will really get a good bump, a good fire lit under this sector again. Or very much we have a good possibility of that happening if those numbers are good. If they're not what analysts thought, we could also, we can possibly see a little bit more correction, or at least some more sideways trading for a little while. So something very, very important to look out for. Really, I think what we're going to need to really get on to our next bull run really is the Senate. We need to find more about when it is becoming legal, what's going on with Bill C-45, but believe me, if it's legal in June, if it's legal in July, and if it's legal in August, that means nothing to me, quite honestly, because what you also need to understand is that this is known. It's a big difference. If something unexpected hits the market, all hell breaks loose, one way or the other. The market does not like something that is not expected. Same thing with interest rates. If the Bank of Canada or the Fed, if they raise interest rates or don't raise interest rates, and it wasn't what the market expected, you see things drastically take a turn for the good or for the worse. I think that at this point, we all understand the 8 to 12 weeks after the Senate passes legislation, that it's going to take that long. We understand it's going to be some time in the summer. There's some things you need to look into, but I think because the market understands that and knows that, I think that's getting baked into the prices. It's getting baked into expectations. I think it's going to have less of a negative effect if they do push it to August. And quoting John Fowler when I was at the AGM, that was for Supreme Pharmaceutical Company, he said the same thing. June, July, August. The only difference is if it's in August, I have an extra month to get ready. Are his exact words for that. So I wouldn't worry about that. But the sooner we get closure on that, the sooner we can really start getting this bull run going again. So really, really good to look into. Really interesting points to look into. The fund, HMJR fund. There's another one, Seed. It's an actively traded fund. It's $1 million. It's really not that big of a fund to worry about, but be knowledgeable of that one as well. That started trading on Monday. So that's, I think, 4 or 5 that we have now. So it's starting to become more and more popular. So it's a great sign for the industry, because that brings in investors who are otherwise would always stay on the sidelines or would buy a stock like we saw a couple weeks ago. I shouldn't be laughing because it's unfortunate, where they see it correcting, and the first sign of correcting, they absolutely freak out and they sell for a big loss, which is unfortunate. If they were more seasoned or if they knew what was going on, they may not have sold. Holding isn't always the answer, but selling for huge losses when there's blood in the streets, I don't always know if that's the answer either. That's up to you, but it's unfortunate. But when they go with these mutual funds, when they go with these ETFs, they can put their money in it and not have to worry as much, knowing that a fund manager is managing it for them. They get the exposure to the companies that they want. They get the exposure to the green rush, as it's been coined, and they're not so quick to sell their ETF units as they probably would be if they were holding the stock and didn't know what was going on. So I think that's a really good sign for our sector in the short run, and that's why I've been pushing, okay, who's on the HM Junior? Because it's going to be a huge thing for our industry, for the companies that are on there. I looked at some of those companies. They're great companies. So we don't have an actual dollar value of the fund yet. I've been trying to find it. I can't find it. I can just find the allocation, how much percentage each company has. But is it a $10 million fund, a $100 million fund? That's going to be a big thing as well. But regardless, I think that's going to be great exposure for these companies, and it's going to be great ability for people to get in there and, again, buy something that they may not otherwise have bought. So those are really good things to look out for. Pay attention to them. But I wanted to bring up something else. This is not related to any of these, but somewhat to Canopy. Canopy Growth Corporation. I saw an article the other day when someone said it's worth no more than $13 because of this, and this. And they're using price to earnings ratios. They're using liquidity ratios. They're using all these financial ratios. And he's a fund manager. He's been doing this for years. And he's clueless. Absolutely clueless to what these companies are already becoming. And they're using metrics that, quite frankly, right now can't be used. And I'll explain why. They're using these metrics because they're looking at the price of the stock, the market capitalization. Market capitalization is simply how many shares are outstanding of the company multiplied by the price of the share, and that gives you typically or essentially the value of the company. But they're using that, and they're so now. They're thinking about now. They're not thinking about the future. This is an emerging market. You ask one person. I tried it a couple of times in our cannabis chat. Someone said, "Oh, that's overvalued," or "Oh, that's undervalued." And I asked them, "Why is it overvalued? How is it overvalued?" "Oh, it's similar to this stock, so that's why it's this." And like, okay, is that stock overvalued or undervalued? Oh, I don't know. I did not get an answer to that. And that's because we have no true way of evaluating these companies right now, which is very interesting. So how do all of these asset managers and fund managers go on to these articles and go on to these news agencies and start saying all this stuff about this is overvalued and this is undervalued? I wouldn't pay more than $2 for this. Yet they don't know how to actually evaluate it. So the reason I bring this up is because I have been crunching some numbers recently, and so has Greg Allen. Greg Allen is one of our members. He's a good friend who I got him into trading stocks back in March, trading cannabis stocks. And it's funny, the growth that man has had since then. He is one of the go-to people, I think, in our Follow the Money group, I should say, for cannabis knowledge. He's right up there, and he's really been helping me as I got so many other things going on as well. He's been helping me crunch some numbers on these companies, on their capacity, what their potential revenues might be, and a lot of other things that I'm hoping to have completed in the next few weeks with the help of our Follow the Money team. We're all going to be working on it. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to evaluate these companies because no one seems to be able to do it as of right now. So the reason I bring this up is because I have looked into one company specifically, and I chose this one because everyone understands this company, everybody knows this company, and it's Aurora Cannabis, ACB. Aurora Cannabis is one of the big guns. I mean, they're giving up a pretty good argument for being even bigger than Canopy Growth Corporation, which is exciting because I remember looking into them back in 2016, the beginning of 2016, I think, and I bought their stock for $2.56. And then I started reading in that they were going to build a massive facility at the Edmonton airport. That caught my attention. Alberta is quite literally your landlord. That could not say enough how much that province is behind cannabis. Why else would they have that? So it's been a long time coming, but they just finished their Aurora Sky facility, which was a big deal. Ryan, I beat you by 2 cents on what you got there for. But it's a big deal because now you're starting to look at, okay, what type of revenues can this company have? So I'm going to go through some numbers, and bear with me because I need to still crunch more because there are costs that are still associated with them. There are risks. You know, some of these facilities that I'm going to be mentioning, there's still risks behind it because it's not fully built yet. So you have to understand that I'm going to go through numbers and I'm going to do the best I can with the information I've been able to have right now. But know that there's still a lot of uncertainty in other these numbers because they're coming from me and not from the company itself. But let me go through a few. So we have Aurora Mountain. Aurora Mountain was their first facility. It's operational. Aurora Mountain has 4,800 kilograms of cannabis per year, their capacity. It's pretty good numbers. If you look at a lot of the different businesses right now, the different companies right now, that's right up there with some of them, 4,800. The next one is Aurora Vi and Aurora Lachute. Vi is 4,000 kilograms. Lachute is 4,500 kilograms. So right there, you've already got, 12 some odd, 13,000 kilograms. That's not that bad so far. That's pretty good. Well, then comes Aurora Sky, and this is when they start getting ridiculous, to be very, very honest. Aurora Sky they just got their cultivation license back in January. When they get that fully operational, Aurora Sky will be able to do 100,000 kilograms a year. It is absolutely massive facility that they have going on. So if you take those facilities right there, the Aurora Mountain, Aurora Sky, Aurora Vi, and Aurora Lachute, you have 113,300 kilograms. That's about half of what they're about to have. It goes on. They also have Aurora Nordic. Aurora Nordic is going to be 100,000 kilograms plus. It's going to be built in Denmark. They're going to have 51% of that building. It's going to be the largest cannabis facility in all of Europe. If you take 51% of that, that's an extra 51,000 kilograms. We then go on. They also have TGOD. Now, this is a company I'm very excited about. I do not own any shares in it, and I wish I did. But they're going public in March. Aurora recently came out saying that they have bought 17.62% of that company. TGOD, the Green and Organic Dutchman, when they have their facility fully built, and it's still a little ways, it's not going to be tomorrow, but it's still within the next year and a half, they're going to have over 100,000 kilograms. You see a theme here. These facilities are absolutely massive. Aurora has in their agreement that they could have up to 50% of TGOD. I do not have any information that they will have 50%. That's something that is completely out of my knowledge, but let's use the fact that if they went for 50% of TGOD, that would be another 50,000 kilograms of cannabis. For anybody who was doing mental math or took a pen and paper or is just going to wait for me to say the number, 214,300 kilograms of cannabis. That is absolutely insane. To have that much cannabis in the next year and a half makes this company absolutely massive. So they recently had Q1 2018, the revenue came out. It was $8.2 million in the first quarter, or they're expected to have $8.2 million in the first quarter. It's a pretty good amount. In the year of 2017, they had $18.1 million in revenue. Not bad. But for a company that's worth $5 or $6 billion, you can say, okay, I can see why these analysts are probably saying right now that these companies, they're so overvalued. Well, when this is all operational, if we were to take that 214,300 kilograms of cannabis, if you use $7 is much less than the $9 that they have on their investor presentation. That is the average cost per gram that they're currently selling, the revenue for that. But I'm going to go $7 just for all the naysayers or people say, oh, it's not going to be $9. I'm going to go $7 instead. That equates to $1.5 billion a year in revenue. Their 2017 revenue, $18.1 million. Do you see where I'm now going with this? This is one LP of 89 in our country. And their potential. Now again, these are just numbers just based on how much capacity, cost per gram, things like that, at $7 a gram, $1.5 billion. This does not equate for the fact that they have to deal with RTI, Radiant Technologies. Oils are much more, you get much more revenue out of 1 gram of cannabis. So if they were to be able to do that, I guarantee it's going to be even higher with that amount. But $1.5 billion, they now have an incredible appreciation from 2017 revenues, where if their current market cap right now, I wish I had it, I should have looked it up beforehand, but it was in around the 5 billion mark. They're going to be doing $1.5 billion in revenue. That is incredible difference from having a $5 or $6 billion market cap and having only $18.1 million in sales. So you can see where these companies are going very, very fast. They also have a 22.9% in Can Group. This is a company in Australia. I haven't even mentioned their outreach into Italy, which is a whole other, thank you, $5.23 billion. I haven't even mentioned their outreach to Italy in this, nor have I mentioned the fact that they also own Larson, who is a part of building their facility at Aurora Sky. They're now also going to be able to be a vertical company where Larson is also doing the facility for T-God as well. And, sorry, I'm showing you. Ryan, you would just simply do it divided by itself, but we can talk in a private chat about the valuations. But if you look at these numbers, I don't know why none of our papers have been able to look at this yet. They only look at the revenues right now and the market cap right now, and they say, oh, these companies, they're so overvalued. You shouldn't be buying them. Are you kidding me? Their revenue is about to go up by billions of dollars, and you're telling me that they're overvalued. It's absolutely ludicrous. It's absolutely insane that I just did this very, very quick. I've had a busy day today. I've sketched it on a piece of paper here over the last hour or so just so that I had some concrete numbers for you. When these people are doing, these fund managers are looking through their information, what are they calculating? What are they looking at? So I don't have those answers. I don't know if it's because, they might be short these companies, so they want something out of it. I can't accuse them of that because I'm not a part of them. I don't fully know myself, but it's absolutely incredible. Crunching some of these numbers have lasted a while, that these companies are going to be huge. They're truly going to shift the economic structure of Canada. because they are going to be exporting in the billions of dollars. Because yes, they have $1.5 billion of cannabis, but you know, they also bought out Pedanios. I'm not saying that properly, so look it up yourself and then tell me how to say that in whatever language that is. It has over 2,000 pharmacies across Europe. It's Europe's largest group of pharmacies, and Aurora bought them out last year. So they're going to be able to supply to over 2,000 pharmacies all across the European Union. So they have a massive global structure that they're going to be able to sell to, which is another great aspect because they actually have an avenue for all this cannabis. So a lot of people also talk about the Canadian market. The Canadian market is, you know, we're not going to have enough supply for the demand. At first, no, I don't think that's going to be true. I think we're going to have not enough supply for the demand. I think I said that wrong. They were going to have too much supply for the demand. But in a year or so, absolutely. At the rate that our companies are going, they're going to need to export it globally. And they're going to. They're in Germany. They're in Italy. They're in Australia. They're going all across Europe. And they're going to have their avenues. It's things to look out for. These deals need to have more numbers to them. But I bring this up because I can't stand all the stuff that's happening right now in these papers where they're so uninformed or purposely being ignorant, blissfully ignorant, just how much money these companies are going to be making. And as I said, in the coming weeks, I hope that our Follow the Money team is going to be able to crunch some numbers on some of the bigger players and get that out to you so that hopefully we can have our evaluations of what these companies truly going to be and start looking into who are going to be the winners and, you know, who are going to be the ones who get bought out or dry up in the coming years. So I just want to make sure I hit all those things. I can go through some questions if people have it, but really just want to touch up on watch out for tomorrow. Cannabis Growth Corporation, their earnings are coming out. It's going to be very, very important for this sector. HMM Jr. is coming out on the 15th, on the Thursday, and as I'm pretty sure every single person in this chat room knows, we are going to Matica, Montreal, tomorrow and filming on Thursday. So stay tuned for that as well. So yeah, that's the stuff I wanted to be able to touch up on tonight, go over some of these capacity things. I shared a couple of things on the Follow the Money site. Look over those as well. You're right, forgive me. HMMJ Junior starts February 14th. Sorry about that. Tomorrow. So two big things coming up really quickly. So look out for those. They're going to be very important. And yeah, it'll be a very interesting week for the Follow the Money team and the rest of us that are here. Ryan, I do have an email. Why don't we chat in a personal message after this? You can definitely reach out. You're right about Pedanios as well. They're going to be able to sell retail, not wholesale, because they own it. I remember reading that, and at the time, they had Aurora Sky that was going to be going up, and I thought to myself, where are they going to be selling all this cannabis? Because you can grow as much cannabis as you want. Not really, but you only have a certain amount of limits. But the biggest thing is, are you going to be able to sell it? One of the big ratios that's going to be coming up is your inventory ratio. How fast are you getting rid of your inventory? That's going to be massive for these big LPs. In this chat or in other chats, I can talk more about what I think is going to happen in the next little while. We went through this massive rush of you can throw a dart and triple your money. I think we still have another one of those coming. I think once we have, because we've really consolidated, we're at least 50%, sometimes more than 50% from our highs. I think we have another run coming because people will start flooding in when it gets closer to legalization. You're going to be able to bring that dart out again, throw it and see. But I think investors are now getting smarter. They are looking into the companies a little bit more. They're looking into companies where they'll have the same market capitalization, but one has a facility that can create 50,000 kilograms a year. The other one has a facility that creates 10,000 kilograms a year. Clearly, you're going to buy the one with 50,000 kilograms. So I think investors are getting smarter, and I hope that our Follow the Money team can make them much smarter. Stay tuned for that. I'm very, very excited to see what we can come up with. But I think that we're going to start moving more into, okay, who are going to be the massive players? Who are going to be the ones that win? Your ACB, your Aurora Cannabis, they're going to be a winner. Your Canopy Growth Corporation, Weed, they're going to be a winner. Freya, APH, they're going to be a winner. CanTrust, TRST, I was looking into them. Phenomenal company. I want to learn more about them. They're going to be a winner. But there's a lot of other companies that are out right now where, you need to start being more cautious about. It's okay to have small players. That's not the problem. What is when you are able to compare other small companies and realize that one small company has a lot more going for it than the other small company. How much cash do they have on hand? Are they only cannabis? Part of my other little aspect there is niche market. If you're going to be into oils, into edibles, into CBD products, that gives a lot of quality, a lot of value in my mind, because that's going to give you a competitive advantage. You might only produce 15, 20,000 kilograms a year, maybe less. But if you don't need to do that, because you're not selling the dried flower in ridiculous amounts of like metric tons like ACB, but you have a great product where it's like Satis Farm with Harvest One, where it's going to be gel pills with cannabis oil, or it's going to be Naturally Splendid or Favita, where they're going to be going into CBD products and edibles. You don't necessarily need to be producing a lot of cannabis to be a very valuable company. So that's something we need to start looking into as well. And I really hope that, that's my goal, is to make it so that we are talking about these things early, because I'm not too sure how many investors out there are really talking about that right now. They're talking about all these other aspects of the cannabis sector, but they're not worried about the next game. They're not worried about what's happening. So, thanks, Mom. Edibles were highlighted on the news at 6 tonight. You have come a long way, Mrs. Caldwell, or Miss Caldwell. Very, very long way. So, over the years, and how accepting you are of the cannabis sector. But we need to start looking into those different avenues. Hemp, huge, huge market. And I think hemp as well has not taken off yet. We're still in the beginning, because we're still trying to find out who's going to need these hemp producers. But once you start getting into, okay, this company is making clothing with hemp. This company is making oils with hemp. This company is making plastics with hemp. This company is doing edibles, like a lot of these edibles are coming out. When you start looking into that, these hemp players become more and more valuable. So that, in my mind, is one of the next plays. They're going to be passing the baton onto these types of companies, niche markets, your hemp producers. And I really want to be ahead of the curve for all 2,000 members, so that we're looking into these things. We're getting into these companies. Remember, not saying buy, sell, or hold. We're not financial advisors, but we're certainly going to be able to go through what companies we think are going to be winners. Because when it comes down to it, when you're just selling the flower, the bud, the big companies are going to win. The ones I just mentioned, they're going to be the winners. And they're absolutely, just like life, don't let those soccer teams, when you're in Little League, let you think that there's no winners or losers. I think that's a terrible mentality. Don't rub it in. Be good losers, good winners. But there is always a winner, and there's always a loser. This is economics 101. It's a zero-sum game. If you're trying to teach people that that's not true, take an economics class. So they're going to be nothing against Little League soccer. It's great, go out there and have fun. But I still know who won. But there's going to be losers in this sector. So you got to be prepared for that, because Right now, these companies are liquid, or sorry, not liquid. They have lots of cash, so they're flush. They can last for a little while, but they're going to be squeezed out by these bigger companies. I'm sorry to say it. It's going to start happening. You got to prepare for that. But not to say that they're bad companies now, not to say that you need to be worried about it right now. I'm bringing it up so that you can keep it in mind, because now is the time that I'm starting to look into, okay, who's going to be the winner, who's going to be the losers, who's going to be those niche markets, and who's going to be the big hemp plays. I think a lot of other investors who have been through this for a long time, who can see what's happening and see what's unfolding, are starting, not right away, but are starting to think that way as well. So I want to be forward thinking for us. I don't want to be reactionary. I want us to be able to find these things early. So, we're going to keep pointing those out. I hope to have more information on our ability to evaluate these companies very soon. I tell you right now, there's certain, when going through this with Greg and our other Follow the Money members, I'm looking at some companies and thinking to myself, why am I in this company? And looking for possibly an exit strategy on it when I actually start looking into it. And there's other companies I look into like TRST, and I'm thinking to myself, why have I never looked into this company before? Why am I not a shareholder? And again, don't take that as a buy, sell, or hold for anything that I've just said. But when you start looking at companies, you can really start seeing, okay, this management knows what they're doing. Look at their investor presentations. I told you that by the end of the week, I'm going to have everyone's investor presentations and hopefully some sort of a rating scale. I need to think of a scale that is not subjective, that is based on metric, because I don't want to have one of these companies coming to me saying, why did I rated a 7 or a 6 out of 10? Well, it's because you didn't even put your cost per gram in your investor presentation. I had to email you. When you emailed me back, you didn't answer my question. That's, I don't know if that's lazy. I don't know what that is. But from an investor side point, I'm not going to be buying your shares. And I own some of your shares, and I'm probably going to be selling them pretty soon. But I'm not going to say that name. So when you really start looking into these companies, though, you really start finding out who are the good people. And a lot of that information is in their investor presentation. Again, I put Aurora's investor presentation in the same post that I have on the Follow the Money main wall, basically stating what their company is doing. If you look through that investor presentation, within 10 minutes, you know everything you need to know about Aurora. It's all there. It's all down to the cost per gram, where their facilities are they undergoing, are they completed? Invictus MD had the same type of thing, very good investor presentation. When you start looking into these, when you see a good investor presentation, one thing, the management cares. They know how important they are, but they're organized. They have the information. I bet you there's some companies out there where they don't know what their cost per gram is going to be. They're guessing. And don't get me wrong, some of these other ones, they're forward-looking. They say it right there. Things can change. But when you start seeing the breakdowns that some of these companies are doing, and when you're seeing the ambiguity in some of these other investor presentations, it really gives you a good idea of should your money be inside them. So not always the case. It's just one tool that you can use. But I'm hoping to have that by the weekend, the list of all the investor presentations for everyone to go through. It'll be one click away. You can look at a company right away and click on it. I don't know of any other site that is showing all those things, so I'm going to have it for our group. And our other administrators are helping me put together and do the rating on it so that it's as least subjective as possible. But the biggest thing isn't the rating. The biggest thing is having them all one click away. So again, information. If there was going to be one thing about Follow the Money, it's providing information and also providing a great community that I have never found anywhere else. That's why I didn't think twice to be an administrator here. I've only been with this group for 2 months. Carl, George, Ashley, all the other admins, they're the one who really built this group, had a vision, had a culture. They're doing a good job of keeping it, because when I first saw it, after 3 years of being in this field, being in this sector, I had never found a community like this before. And that's why I'm here every day. That's why I'm in the chat rooms, Cannabis, Hemp, mostly every day, and that's why I'm contributing it to, because it's special. You know, there's a good group here. You can ask the questions and not be embarrassed that you're asking those questions, because we've all been there. So a little bit of a plug for Follow the Money in there, but seeing it's a video for Follow the Money, I'm allowed to do that. But I'm getting close to rant. You can tell why I'm always in the chat rooms talking. It's one of the things I do very well. But question time. I'm trying to find out the time right now. I don't want to go too long here. I have to start preparing for my meeting tomorrow with Matica. There's a lot to learn there as well. Every day I'm trying to do something else. It's just deadline after deadline. So if I ever don't know something, it's not because I'm not paying attention. It's because I'm doing 15 things at once while at school, while working, while doing my own portfolio of 25 stocks. Like I've put a lot on my plate, so bear with me if I don't always know everything. There's this crazy thing about being human that stops me from knowing everything sometimes. Can't all be Ross Chapman, who quite literally does know everything. I'm starting to think you're quite literally a cyborg. So if you ever need information, he's a great person to ask. I don't know if he's watching or not, though. But I don't know if my questions here are live or not, but please, if you have any comments, I'd love to try to answer them. And if not, we'll cut the video short. So shoot, do you have anything? I'll see if I can answer it. Getting some likes. Yeah, not questions, but likes. No? Okay. I think I covered a lot there. Well, if you do have a question, you've got maybe a minute before there we go. Any questions on LG? LG is one of my more recent holdings. I like them. You have to ask yourself something when a stock price really goes down the way they've gone down. Has anything changed with the company? And with LG, yes, there's been dilution. All of these companies have dilution because we're in a state right now where you can't have the type of loans that other companies have. So when they're doing dilution, but they're getting deals done with that dilution, I'm okay with it. How do you think Aurora Cannabis, how do you think they were able to afford Aurora Sky? I know people used to always go back when it was $2. Oh, this company, it's done. Look at all these millions and hundreds of millions of dollars of shares. Oh, what are they going to do with the money? Oh, they're going to build an 800 square foot facility and be one of the most high-tech facilities that the world has ever seen at that point, and build it at the Edmonton airport and have, 100,000 kilograms when it's all done? That's a dilution that I was more than happy for. So I think a lot of people are worried about the dilution for LG. What happened as well is that there were warrants that were put in, and the warrants were really well in the money, where a warrant, when you go do a private placement, you get your share, but you also get a certificate, basically. It's called a warrant, that allows you to be able to buy a stock at a given price for a given amount of time. There's also some clauses that they put in there. They're all different. But what you basically have is, say, LG, when it was up at $1, I can't recall what the warrants were at. Maybe someone can correct me or look it up while I'm going here. But the warrants, so what they got from this private placement, could have been 30, 40 cents, whatever it be. And if the stock is all the way up at $1, and you have a warrant at 40 cents, you can sell the share that you're in, which is now double the money for what you had, because you bought a share at, say, 30 cents or 40 cents. You sell all of those shares that you have, then you buy the warrants that gives you more shares of that company. You've doubled or tripled your money, plus you have all your original shares back. And if you really wanted, you could sell all those for another double or triple your money again. I believe that's what happened with LG. And then once it started going down, because you have that much selling pressure, you get the stock price going down. And when it starts going down, traders are a whole other breed of human. There's some good traders out there. There's some other traders. There's nothing wrong with it. But when traders smell blood, issued 18 million units at 12 cents per unit and warrants at 25 cents. I said 30 or 40 cents, 25 cents. So that's huge. That's really in the money. But when you have this and you see this huge fluctuation in a share price, what you start having is sharks smelling blood, and it becomes a trader stock. There's nothing against the company. There's nothing, well, sometimes there isn't, but it's not the company's fault. It just becomes high volatility, so people are making a lot of money on the swings, on shorting it, on ripping it 10, 15% and selling your money over and over again. So that's happened to LG right now. I'm still very bullish on them. There are other people who have a huge stake in 50,000 shares plus in LG, and they're not wavering either. It's one of those things you got to hold out. Hold out. These stocks don't just change overnight and all of a sudden go back up 100 and 200%. That's not how stocks work, even though I think that some of these will go up 100 200% on their run to legalization. Not yet, but soon. We'll have to wait for those. So I hope that answered the question for him. I personally have not sold a single one of my LG shares. In fact, I kept buying on the way down, but that's me personally. Doesn't have to be him. Doesn't have to be you. But I don't see anything that would cause me to sell my shares at this moment. I think they're going to be a huge hemp player. They got a lot of things going on. I think it's hilarious. They're going to have a beer that's also going to have THC in it, and you can literally get crunk in a whole new way. I think that's very interesting. Not that the aspect specifically I like the company for, but it'll be a product that people will most likely buy. So a lot of good things about the company. Wait and see. I wouldn't be worried about them just yet, personally. And again, thank you, Ross, for giving me that warrant information. Again, only human, not a computer. I can only remember so much. Any others here? MYM. You know what? I apologize. M1M has always been one of those companies that I haven't looked much into. You know, there's over 100 of these companies. I have 25 that I own. I track about 80 that I keep a tab on. It's not one of those ones. It's skyrocketed out of nowhere. It has a high market cap, and it really went up a lot. I think I want to see them follow through on some of the, like on the massive facility that they named and things like that. But I do apologize that is not one that I've put a lot of attention to. Even though I've got friends who are in that, who, you know, it's a huge appreciation on their original investment. So they're very happy with MYM. But I don't have too much to add to that one, unfortunately. Any others? We still have 26 of you in here. You can ask some questions. Invictus MD, by the way, IMH. They are still waiting on their sales license for Acreage Farms. Acreage Farms is their 100% owned facility. They recently got it for AB Labs. They own 50% of that facility. They just upped their percentage of how much they own. So the Acreage Farms is a much bigger deal. And that's going to be great for Invictus. I absolutely love that company because they going back to that earnings ratio that everyone else is using in the other companies, I say that you can't be using, because they're all, like, their earnings aren't there because of how much dilution they've needed to do. Invictus has a price to earnings ratio of 3. A cannabis company who's going to be having over 19 or 20,000 kilograms of cannabis by the end of 2018 or 19. Don't quote me on that, but I'm just pulling from memory. Has a price to earnings ratio of 3. They have about 20 some odd $1 million the last time I checked. I think that's gone up because of warrants being exercised, and only $11 million of liabilities. They could pay off all their debt and still have tens of millions of dollars and all the facilities intact. Might be a reason to look into. Again, not a buy, sell, or hold recommendation. Just look into them. Thoughts on Rock Shield Capital? Great question. I'm very bullish on them. I'll let you know why. I went into Rock Shields. Funny enough, I chased. Again, only human. I went into them. I really liked them. They plummeted after I bought in. Sorry, folks. That was probably me. But RKS is the ticker it goes by. They're very interesting for 2 reasons. They got a few other reasons, but 2 companies I think stands out the most. One is DMG blockchain. It went live today, and so I read someone saying that it went up by 600% today. I have not looked into that myself. I need to see personally how it is. But that is massive. It's a blockchain company throughout North America and Japan, and that's one of the holdings that Rockshield has. So it's a great appreciation of their investment, because Rockshield invests money and they get shares for their money of the companies, just like Quinsam Capital, QCA does, just like Ian does, Canada Royalty, and Cannabis Wheaton, another company, lots of dilution, but another company who has a lot of skin in the game. But the other one, the one where I'm very, very bullish on, is that they have TGOD private placement shares in there. That company is going to be the biggest IPO that we're gonna have for some time, simply because I really like their management team. Just things I've seen. I really like their on their website. If you go to their website, they've got a fantastic investor area where it's very, very open on what they're doing and why they're doing it. And also, they're going to have a massive facility in Quebec. Quebec has very low electricity costs, which is a huge advantage. So they're going to be able to go through that and be, I think, going to be very successful. But their first private placements that RKS was on, I'm pretty sure they were on their 50-cent private placement, and also their $1.15 private placement. I'd have to look it up, but they're in their private placement for a lot of money. I think it was 500,000 shares at 50 cents. Well, they're supposed to be having their IPO at around $4. So right there, that's 8 times the value of the money that RKS paid. So that's a huge appreciation that should also raise their stock price accordingly. Rockshield, that is. So 2 good companies to look into. Again, I do not own shares of the Green Organic Dutchman. I wish I did. I missed that one before, and it was too late when they came on my radar. But I do own Rockshield, so just a disclaimer. But for those 2 reasons, I think they're a good company. I hear 250,000. I'm almost positive it's 500,000. If Ross is still in the room here, he would know. I think we had an argument earlier if it was 450 or if it was 500, but I think it's 500,000. So great. Yeah, no, it's a good company. Again, do your own due diligence, look into it. But for those reasons, it could go up in the next little while. We'll have to wait and see how the market responds to it. But they responded very well to DMG being active and having its first action on the stock market today. So. It can't keep going up 600% every time, but it's blockchain, and you never know with blockchain. But I don't think that's realistic to keep going like that. Thoughts on Can? So we talked about this last time. Carl and I did. Heritage Cannabis. They have, oh, sorry, I see you said Tinley a couple of times. I'll get to that. Heritage Cannabis, there's a lot of, I don't know, I don't not like it. There's nothing necessarily that I don't like about the company. But to come out and say that you're going to build a 3 million square foot facility is a huge thing to say. Aurora Sky, I just went over theirs, and they have, Aurora Sky is 800,000 square feet. I believe Aurora Nordic is 1 million square feet. And these are big facilities, massive facilities, actually, record facilities. Mm-hmm. So to come out and then say also that you're going to build a facility that's 3 million square foot, it's something to look into how they're going to fund that. Massive dilution, what they're going to do. So, that's not something bad. Forgive me, I'm not trying to be negative about them. It's just something that I'm a little bit weary of at the moment. But people were weary of Aurora when they told them about Aurora Sky. And they said they're never going to do it. They're not going to be able to do it. People were weary about Canopy Growth Corporation and Supreme Pharmaceuticals, now known as the Supreme Cannabis Company. And all 3 of them built their facilities. And all 3 of them are primed and ready to go for legalization. So, you never know what could happen with them. I have to read more, have to see more. Once I'm, stop having my 5 hours of sleep and going into so much on my plate at any given time, I'll have more time to really start digging into these other companies I don't look into all that often. And I'm just waiting for more updates on Can right now, to find out what's happening with that 3 million square foot facility. But in no way is that a bad thing. If they can do it, that's a company you want to be in. If they start having definitive plans, I mean, absolutely, that's massive, huge. That'd be a good facility. I saw Tinley earlier. Tinley is a great company. I do not have any shares of Tinley. No real reason, to be honest, just because I already have shares of Naturally Splendid and Favita, and those are my CBD edibles and drinks type of play right now. But Tinley is a great company. I mean, it's going to do really good things in the United States. I speak to people who look into that company a little bit more. They are very bullish on it. They love being a part of them. But the only thing you need to still keep in mind is that you still need to be careful about stocks right now, just this given time, that have exposure to the United States. The reason being is the Rohrabacher amendment, which basically shields the DOJ from going after cannabis companies with federal money. Well, that keeps getting kicked down the road, every single U.S. budget that keeps going on. And it's been extended till March 23rd, I want to say, but in mid-March or so. And that gives you a little bit of certainty. At least right now, they're not going to be busting down the doors doing raids. But if that was ever to not make it into the finalized budget, there's reason for concern there. That is the reason why I have almost no exposure to the United States right now, other than Liberty Health Science, Naturally Splendid, and Favita. But two of those, the last two, are not cannabis per se. They're very much CBD, which I think is going to be huge in the next little while. But I have very little exposure right now because I'm waiting for that to develop. There's nothing wrong with being in them. If it ever really gets bullish and they start looking at legalizing cannabis federally, I mean, the bull run that'll go in the States, these companies are a fraction of the cost of the market capitalization of their Canadian counterparts. That's when you really start looking into these companies. Your Golden Life Holdings, huge company. They're TerraTex, a huge company. Kush Bottles, huge company. These companies become much more attractive, and there's no reason that their market caps should be where they are, given that they're currently in legal states selling already, which is something that some of our companies cannot say. And yet they're a fifth, a sixth of the value of these other companies. So, pay attention. As soon as that changes, I'll be the first, hopefully, to tell everyone in the group, because that's huge. If you get someone and they're actually going to table a cannabis legalization in the United States, that changes the game. That changes everything, because that is a massive market. You've already got lots of states that have legalized already. They already have the foundation of those markets. They're already selling those markets. What really holds it back right now is that there's uncertainty. What happens if one of these get raided? I mean, blood on the streets for their stock price. That's not meant to scare anybody. I told you already, I have American holdings, but it is meant to make you aware of it. Be careful. Just look out for it. Until mid-March, they're protected under the Rohrabacher amendment. I'd love to see something more permanent come of it, and I'm sure that'll be coming in the next little while. But we got a few weeks now. You don't have to worry too much. I think that's why some of these American plays have been rallying the way they have, especially MPX Bioceutical. They've also been rallying because I think they've been rallying as well because they are also in the HMJR. Another reason, the thing I started this off with, that if you're a company in there, everyone knows that you're in there. They know that if the value of HMJR starts going up, that means that fund manager has to buy more shares of those companies, which is going to further push those companies up. And also just the fact that everyone knows that they're there. So a lot of aspects there. Remember, the HMJ, or HMMJ, I said this at the very beginning of the video, it went from $10 million in assets to $114 million in assets, Canadian, in less than 3 weeks. Now, I'm not saying that the HM Junior is going to do that. I don't think the HM Junior is going to do that. But you're going to see a high appreciation in these, I do believe, especially if we can get some favorable things in our market. You know, a NAFTA deal can come out. The DOJ decides it's done, or sorry, not the DOJ, the Dow Jones. It decides that it stopped wanting to go down. I mean, that's another bullish thing for the market as well. So lots of things to look out for. Continue to look through our different chat rooms on our Facebook wall. We're going to constantly keep updating you. I'm going to do my best to update you while I do all the other things I'm saying I'm doing right now. I've never been so busy in my life, but so far I'm still alive and still going. But no, that was a very long answer to that. But yes, I like Tinley, if we can just summarize that. Anyone else? Still have 27 of you. I might have answered everything that you were looking to have answered. I don't know if my comments are frozen. I'm trying to see here because I just keep saying thanks, Ross. He is a good guy. You should be thanking him. No, looks like it's it. Okay. Well, I'm going to sign off then. Thanks for everyone who was able to take the time to listen into all of this. I will find a way to get my computer to properly film these videos so I can save it later and not have my hold my phone for an hour and have it all shaky and all those different things. So technology will make it work, but you know, continue to follow the money, continue to look into these different things, continue to be active, and watch out for the earnings for Canopy coming up very shortly. Watch out for HM Junior coming out tomorrow. We need to find out how much the market capitalization is of that fund, or how much the assets are, I should say, because that's huge. If it's $1 million or if it's $100 million, it's a very big difference. And, you know, just keep looking for those things. And most importantly, I'll end it off with this because this is what I kind of started it with. Look out for our Matica videos coming soon. I hope to have a lot of good things in there. And we're going to be sharing it here first. You know, it's going to be coming to our 2,000 investors. One of the benefits of being one of our investors is that you're going to be able to see this. And as I said before, and as I know Carl has said before, and how Carl envisions this growing, we hope to be doing a lot more of those as well. Because again, the more information you have, the better decisions that you can make for your own personal needs. So stay tuned. See how I can shut this off now, because I've never done it on my phone. But have a good night, everyone.